Hi guys, welcome to the Fight Edge channel. The famous British promoter Eddie Hearn named the reasons for the defeat of his ward Anthony Joshua in a fight with the WBA, WBO and IBF World Heavyweight Champion Alexander Usyk, and also shared his expectations from the rematch. McCracken, the coach of the former World Heavyweight Champion Anthony Joshua, shared his opinion on the rematch between his ward and the current WBA, WBO and IBF World Champion Ukrainian Alexander Usyk. According to the coach, if Anthony acts correctly in the second match, he will win without any problems. Former world champion in the first heavyweight Grigory Drozd criticized the performance of Anthony Joshua in a fight against Alexander Usyk. Recall that Usyk defeated Joshua by unanimous decision, winning the WBA, WBO and IBF heavyweight titles. Undefeated British heavyweight Joe Joyce commented on the defeat of his compatriot Anthony Joshua in a fight against the new WBA, WBO and IBF world champion Alexander Usyk. The famous Russian middleweight Alexander Shlemenko said that the Ukrainian heavyweight boxer Alexander Usyk is the successor of former world champion Alexander Povetkin. The famous British trainer Dave Caldwell, who works with heavyweight Derek Chisora, believes that the dominant performance of Alexander Usyk in the fight with Anthony Joshua was largely due to the decision of the Ukrainian boxer to prepare for this fight under the leadership of Anatoly Lomachenko. Former world champion in two weight categories David Haye told what Anthony Joshua must do to win a rematch with Alexander Usyk. Friends, before starting to watch this video, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel. If you really enjoy the content, then please subscribe to my channel and keep watching the videos. If you are subscribed, then you receive notifications about the release of new videos. You do not even have to look for anything personally. I really want to get 10,000 subscribers on my channel. I am trying very hard absolutely every day and I need your support. Your likes, comments, reposts to social networks. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to my channel. You are my support. Thank you so much. The famous British promoter Eddie Hearn called the reasons for the defeat of his ward Anthony Joshua in a fight with the WBA, WBO and IBF World Heavyweight Champion Alexander Usyk, and also shared his expectations from the rematch. It all comes down to a bad plan for the fight and its implementation. There will be big chances in the next match. Anthony Joshua, of the times when he defeated Vladimir Klitschko, would have defeated Alexander Usyk. This is what he needs to rehabilitate himself in a rematch. Perhaps Anthony wanted to be more aggressive in the fight with Usyk, but he couldn't at that particular moment. Still, we must pay tribute to Alexander. He was great. In the rematch after the starting gong, Joshua must let go of his hand. He should strive to cut off his opponent's head. Anthony knows that he can't win otherwise. It's not that Joshua has no abilities. He just fought with Usyk. Watch the fight again. Anthony did not let go of his hands, but nevertheless, Usyk was shaken several times, and this despite the fact that Joshua didn't invest in the blow. Now Alexander Usyk will celebrate his victory. Perhaps he will go on a world tour, as Andy Ruiz did, and Anthony Joshua will stay in the gym and will work to achieve victory in the rematch, Hearn said. McCracken, the coach of the former world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua, shared his opinion on the rematch between his ward and the current WBA, WBO and IBF world champion Ukrainian Alexander Usyk. According to the coach, if Anthony acts correctly in the second match, he will win without any problems. There is no driving board that we need to go back to. It's just that in a fight against such an opponent, you need to exert pressure with the help of a jab and right hand punch to keep him at a distance. Anthony should also throw out combinations when approaching. Usyk is a good boxer and Joshua is still studying. If Anthony makes every effort, he will achieve a result, the coach said. Recall that Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua held a duel on September 25 at the Tottenham Hotspur Arena in London. The victory was won by Ukrainian by unanimous decision of the judges. Former world champion in the first heavyweight Grigory Drozd criticized the performance of Anthony Joshua in a fight against Alexander Usyk. Joshua was stripped of 3 world titles in front of his audience and the whole world. Perhaps this hit his boxing reputation, because it was obvious to everyone that Sasha's technique class as a boxer was higher, and it was visible in every episode. Joshua had moments, both concentration and danger remained until the last round, but still his technical class was lower than that of Usyk. And in this part, of course, he suffered. And Joshua looked a little limp and toothless like a champion. Neither Anthony nor his corner could fail to understand that he was losing the fight. For Usyk, I didn't see any real difficult moments during the whole fight. Joshua had them, but Usyk didn't. At the beginning or in the middle, he missed the right side. There were several alarming moments, but they were not even close to such situations in which Joshua found himself at the end. Therefore, in the class, Usyk won very confidently and calmly, and Joshua even looked helpless in some places, said Grigory Drozd. Undefeated British heavyweight Joe Joyce commented on the defeat of his compatriot Anthony Joshua in a fight against the new WBA, WBO and IBF world champion Alexander Usyk. It was quite unexpected, but I could imagine how each of them wins this fight. Initially, I said that Joshua would take over, but I also saw how Usyk is able to win. I don't know if the decision of Joshua's team to box with a boxer was tactically correct. I think he fought too cleanly. Everything didn't go according to plan, but it's good for Usyk. This changes everything, makes his situation interesting. We still have the Fury Wilder third fight. We'll see how this fight will turn out, but everything is getting interesting. You can arrange many different fights. This is an exciting moment in which there is room for different turns, maneuvers and events. This is an exciting times for heavyweights, said Joe Joyce. The famous Russian middleweight Alexander Shlemenko said that the Ukrainian heavyweight boxer Alexander Usyk is the successor of former world champion Alexander Povetkin. In fact, I like the style of Alexander Povetkin the most. This is if we now take our boxers, because I still count Alexander Usyk among our own. Although he is from Ukraine, but I believe that this is one of our big countries. Now Alexander Povetkin has finished his career, but in general Usyk is worthily successful of his work. He moved to heavyweight, won almost all the belts, so it's nice to see. Moreover, I can note that Alexander works as a lefty, and I also work in a left-handed stance. Therefore, it's doubly interesting for me to observe, watch, learn for myself, because I believe that we are psychologically very similar. Therefore, there is something to learn from him. For me personally, it's nice that our guy took these belts, and now the whole Russian-speaking world is experiencing very pleasant emotions, Shlemenko said. The famous British trainer Dave Caldwell, who works with heavyweight Derek Chisora, believes that the dominant performance of Alexander Usyk in the fight with Anthony Joshua was largely due to the decision of the Ukrainian boxer to prepare for this fight, under the leadership of Anatoly Lomachenko. I'm upset about Joshua, but if you look at his career, you will see that he is improving his boxing style. However, he was confidently and fairly beaten by an excellent technician. Returning to Papa Lomachenko was a great importance for Usyk. Dave Caldwell wrote on his Twitter page, "Absolute world champion and the first welterweight Josh Taylor sees no reason to organize a rematch between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua. Is there a need for a Usyk-Joshua rematch? Personally, I don't think so. It seems to me that this fight was too one-sided. What do you think?" Josh Taylor wrote on his Twitter page. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.